factors, I think, in people's lives. If you can wake up happy, also means you probably have to go to sleep happy. Well, if you can wake up happy and always focus on how lucky each one of us is to have the opportunity that we've never had before, you'll be able to have that unbelievably positive attitude, I think, that just rings through, that brings everyone to you. You become an attractant. And to become that attractant means you're going to bring in people to your team that in some cases you might think you never could bring in. You might think there's no way they want to be a part of what I'm doing, but by being that positive attractant, I always see that working. With what's being created right now at QS2, when you look at 2013 right now, we only have about 6 weeks, a little more than 6 weeks, 7 weeks left to this year. With what's being created right now, with what's been built, with the recruiting we've done, with the materials, with the infrastructure, all the things that we have so far, you look at what the possibility is, and that's my key word for this, what the possibility is for you, your family, for QS2, for everyone you know in 2014, it's off the charts. And it's wonderful to be able to think about that, because as everyone gets prepared for the new year, we always think about, okay, what's going to happen? It's a brand new year, got to start fresh, and where am I going to be at? Well, you're going to probably be at a position you've never been at before, and that is to achieve goals that you've never achieved, and you have to continually focus on that. The goal, of course, in 2014 is going to be to do as much business as you can. Well, the way you're going to do that is to focus completely on the next, let's call it 7 weeks minus whatever time period is taken off for the holidays. If you focus and build as much as you possibly can, let's say over the next 40-plus days, you're going to have a jump start on 2014. So the key is make sure, let's go into that recruiting mode. I've seen recruiting numbers start to go up significantly last week. Kelly and I talked about that. Our phones are both beeping off the hook with new people coming on. I think there was 1 hour where I saw about 20-plus people sign up in the company on Thursday. It was either Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. And that's tremendous. And just all the time, new associate, new associate, new associate. So people are definitely pushing the recruiting. And I think it's a combination that when recruiting's done and then production's done, then recruiting's done again. And we're really seeing a tremendous surge in that. So our goal is to get to 10,000 people minimum by the end of this year. That's the minimum we want to be at, for 10,000 recruits. And I think we can do it easy if we just focus. And we'll get a tremendous number of sales off that at the same time. When you look at what's happening in the health insurance arena, when you look at how many people we're bringing in, how easy it is to close sales in the health insurance and then make money in that, it just makes it so easy to both do two things. One, recruit the individuals and then help them make some money right off the bat. When you look at what people are doing, the newbies are doing right now with recruiting people, bringing them in, doing internal consumption immediately, and focusing on the 5 field training sales, which is our culture as well as the basis for the RPM program, it's just amazing that people are focused. You look at what they can attain. They can become an NMD in one day. We heard about one person in Chicago last week, I believe on Friday, Jim Fowles told me about. We had a report that we had a NMD in one day, which was Kelly's goal. You can imagine NMD in one day. With A.L. Williams, it took people 18 months, 36 months, 40 months to become an RVP, and it took someone one day to become an NMD. That's just amazing. Same thing with our vice chairman, be able to become a vice chairman in 100 days. All those things are pointing towards the opportunities that we have right in front of us, and we're just proud that we're here to help. We're proud that you decided to be part of QS2. With that, I'd like to bring on Kelly Schnorrenberg.
Hey, Dan, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, buddy. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. Hey, QS2 Nation, I'm gonna make some announcements tonight, but every time you hear me talk, folks, we have one goal and one goal only. That's within the next 3 years to build a $1 billion market cap company. Within the next 5 to 7 years to build a $3 to $5 billion market cap company. Within the next 10 years to build a big cap company, a $10 billion cap company. Okay, I've said over and over that if we're going to do something and do something at that size within them time frames, takes 3 things to make that happen. Number one, you have to have a management team that has the business expertise and the resume. In other words, if the management team doesn't have the business expertise and the resume, then that's called hot air. Number two, you have to have the financial wherewithal to support your business model. There's two reasons companies go out of business. Number one reason is poor management. Number two reason companies go out of business is undercapitalization. The third thing it takes to build a company of that size within that time frame is you have to have the leadership in the field that's performed at that level themselves in companies they've been in. In other words, if you think you're going to build that type of company with greenies, no experience, not going to happen. If you can attract a world-class management team, proper capitalization to make the business model work, then you can attract the leadership in the field. And there's a reason tonight that on that homepage it says leadership under management. There's a reason for that. Folks, of the roughly 7,500 people we have in our company, let me tell you what our company's been able to do in the last 45 days. We brought more leadership in this company the last 45 days than we've had since we started the company. We've attracted over 100 big-time leaders. I'm talking about people that have earned $500,000, $1 million a year. We now have people in our company, folks, that have earned $1 million a month in financial services. We now have people in our company that have had 25,000, 30,000 licensed agents. Well, folks, there's a reason why we're now attracting this type of people. Number one, it's the management team we have in place. And I'm going to start with the management team, Dan Ahmed. And again, you folks have to be able to tell the story I'm telling you. Dan's background at MetLife, number one producer in the world when he was there. Dan had a little insurance agency, 30 agents, in 18 months got it to $30 million a year. Well, the next 18 months took it to $150 million a year, life and annuity production. Him and Jim Files started an assets under management company. That assets under management company they started, they got it to $200 million assets under management, sold the company. Jim Files, the president of our company, Jim has an investment banking background. Jim started the software company, got it to $100 million in revenue, took it public, and then sold his shares in the company. Now, let's talk about A.L. Williams, folks. We have a target here. We have a target, and the target is to make history. That's our target. That's our goal, is to be a company that makes history. I firmly believe what I'm telling you. With the management team we put together, with the leadership we put together, I believe this is a company of destiny. I don't think we're attracting the type of leadership we have if we weren't a company of destiny. Well, A.L. Williams started in 1977. In 14 years, 750,000 agents, the largest sales force in the history of financial services. The end result of having 750,000 agents is they went out and sold 10 million policies. Term policies did $360 billion in face amount of term insurance. 77 to 91, that was 10% of the market share in America, term insurance. 91, Art Williams sold this company to Prime America Financial, which at that time was owned by Citigroup. Well, when he sold his company, he got paid $400 million in cash, and he ended up with $1.8 billion in stock in Citigroup. He was the single largest stockholder the company had, and it put him on the Forbes 400 list. Well, folks, let me tell you how that company started. Art Williams in 1976 picked up the phone and called a guy named Joel Christie. Joel was the national director of sales for a company called PennCorp. PennCorp was an insurance conglomerate that owned 5 different insurance companies. They were the owner of they were the second largest owner of banks in the southwestern United States. At one time, they were the largest publicly traded company on NASDAQ. Well, Art called Joel Christie, and he had an idea called Buy Term Invest the Difference. He was thinking about starting his own insurance company. Joel Christie told Art, here are some things that you need to do, and once you do them, you call me back. Well, about 90 days later, Art called Joel Christie back, and Joel ended up introducing Art Williams to Stanley Byer. Stanley Byer was the chairman of the board of PennCorp. To make a long story short, folks, PennCorp ended up becoming the product service provider for A.L. Williams. They wrote a $2 million check to start the company, and history was made. Well, guess who's the special assistant to Dan, Jim, and I? And he happens to be my right-hand man, Joel Christie. Well, guess who will do anything he can do in a consultant capacity to our company? Stanley Byer. Well, folks, we put a management company together, second to none, starting with Dan, Ahmed, Jim Files. But guess what? We've now attracted 150 of the biggest leaders in the history of this industry. I'd venture to say that we now have probably 20 to 30 people in our company that have been seven-figure earners in the past that have literally had thousands of licensed agents. Now, why are these people coming here? It's real simple. We've set aside 30% of the company to be owned by the people who build it. If you go out and build a business that does $12 million a year in targeted life premium, you're with us 5 years full-time in the business. The first 30 people are going to have an opportunity to own 1 to 2% of the company. Well, if you own 1% of a billion-dollar company here in the next 3 years, that's called $10 million equity. It's also called $800,000-900,000 a year in dividends paid to you other than your own efforts. We built a $10 billion cap company, and I really don't believe it'll take us 10 years. I think 5 to 7 years is something that's doable. Well, we built a $10 billion cap company. Guess what? That 1% is now worth $100 million. That dividends are now worth $8-9 million a year. That's why we're attracting the kind of people we are. We are attracting world-class leadership every single day. So guess what that brings me to? It brings me to, are you prepared to win? Let me ask you this. I did this on our last call on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being weak, 10 being totally positive every single day. What's your attitude like? On a scale of 1 to 10, are you a 1, you a 5, you a 10? See, if you're going to be a leader, if you're going to create financial independence for you and your family, if you're going to help other people create financial independence, you better be a 9 or a 10. A 7 or 8 doesn't cut it, folks. You better be a 9 or a 10. What's your mindset like? Folks, the mindset's got to be you're going to plant your flag, this is it for your family, and you're going to do whatever it takes to get the desired result you want within the time frame. It's not I'm going to think about it. It's not I'm going to see if I can try to do it. Folks, you got to plant your flag. You got to be willing to pay a price to get the desired result you want. What's your commitment like? Are you all in? You 1 foot in, half in? Let me tell you this. Our company's going to spend their time, money, and resources on people who are on a scale of 1 to 10 or a 10 when it comes to attitude. On a scale of 1 to 10, they're a 10 when it comes to mindset. On a scale of 1 to 10, they're 10 when it comes to commitment. And you know how we can tell them people? We can tell them by results. It's not by what comes out of your mouth. It's by your frontline recruiting. It's by your internal consumption. It's by helping new people get 5 field training sales. It's how many new people are you helping become NMDs? How many people are you helping become vice chairmen in the company? It's not by talk, it's by results. So folks, where are you at? On a scale of 1 to 10, if you rounded up all 3 of them, where are you at today? In other words, is your head in your game? Is your head in the game? You got your flag planted? Do you have your list of 200 names? Let me tell you one last thing. Whatever you do this month will set up your income for December, January. It's going to determine what your Christmas is like for your family. Whatever you do in November and December is going to set up your first quarter's income. If you want to make $100,000 in the next 90 days, you better be busy this month. You better be real busy. If you want to make $250,000 the first quarter next year, what you do in November and December literally sets that income up. If you want to earn 7 figures next year, between now and the end of the first quarter, you're either going to set the tone in your business, do the necessary work to make it happen, or you're not. So with that said, what I'd like to do is bring on a guy by the name of Rick Rupert tonight. Folks, I'm sure everybody in this company knows that we've had stipends. And folks, stipends are for those who can run a system, who are tremendous recruiters, tremendous builders. They do internal consumption. They help their 5 people get 5 field training sales. They break NMDs. They break vice chairmen. Well, I'm going to let Rick share his background with you. I'm going to let him share what he did in A.L. Williams. Rick is going to be the chairman of the board in our company of the stipend committee. That is no longer going to be in my hands, and let me tell you why I don't want that in my hands anymore. I'm tired of people telling me I got a car payment, I got a house payment. I'm tired of people telling me I've got this to pay, that to pay, yet you haven't done any recruiting, you don't have any internal consumption, you're not doing your field training sales, and if you would, you wouldn't be asking for it. You'd be making the money. Well, folks, let me tell you where our money's going to be spent. It's going to be spent on those who bring big results and bring them quickly. And so I'm removing myself from the stipends. Rick Rupert's going to become chairman of the board of that little committee. Jim Files is going to be on it. We're going to pick one other person in the field that will help give us an objective view. But Rick, what I want you to do is I want you to spend about 3 to 4 minutes sharing your background, how you got involved in Primerica, A.L. Williams, share what happened to you. A new day has arrived. Rick, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Rick, share your background, what you did in A.L. Williams Primerica and what it meant to you in income.
So everybody, bottom line is, as we roll out and start rolling up our sleeves and going to work, what I want to share with you all is really simply, when I got into Primerica when I was 26 years old, 6-month-old baby, you know, had a construction job, wanted to be somebody, went to a presentation, saw what they had to offer, didn't really understand that I could be really great at it, but I did understand I knew how to work hard. They had a system, and that system was based on learning yourself, being confident in yourself of what you're joining and what you're about to embark on, which is obviously financial services products. Really simply, you had to learn how to do a presentation and explain to the consumer some basic fundamental concepts. You learn them yourself, and then the key is going out and teaching people what you learned. So really simply, I became part-time in Primerica. It was actually A.O. Williams in December of 1989. I worked part-time for about 9 months. I made $15,000 part-time. Went full-time against everybody in my family's advice, everybody in my sphere of influence's advice. Made $35,000 the next year full-time, which is not a lot of money. But then I jumped up and made $85,000, $155,000, $285,000, $315,000, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that was 100% done by recruiting someone, after talking to maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 people, recruiting one person that wanted to buy into what happened to me. You know, I'm working part-time. I think I can make an extra $2,000, $3,000, or $4,000 a month. The guys I'm following are making 15 to 30. Guys, let's go. So you start field training people, and you go out there. And what happens when you're field training and recruiting people, you find people of like mind. So the whole reason field training is important, and the reason everything should be based upon it, is because, number one, you're out with your pen, writing sales, recruiting people, making money, and your attitude is right. When your attitude is right, everything you do is right. Your activity is right. The people you know, the words you use when you're talking to somebody. When somebody gives you a little bit of rejection, it doesn't bother you. When somebody wants to jump on board, you take them and say, you know what, if you do what I do, you'll be successful. Just follow me. Let's go. And so you have the right mindset if you're field training and recruiting people. So, you know, what Kelly's driving and what Jim and Dan are driving is the right behavior to where we all individually can be successful inside the company. They obviously evaluated what's important to build a company inside of a company, and it just so happens to revolve around recruiting and field training people. Yes, once in a while we're going to attract a John Coastal Sharon who's, you know, 20,000 agents and used to making $1 million a month and wants that again. those kind of people are going to be, oh my God, I got me another stud. But at the same time you're doing that, every day when you wake up and your feet hit the floor, you got a game plan to go out and recruit yourself 2 or 3 or 4 more new people, bring them to the next event. As soon as they show a little bit of interest, you got them excited, you sit down, you fill out their top 200 list, you qualify it, you narrow it down to 20 to 40 people, you take that person on the phone, you teach them how to make appointments, you teach them what to say on an appointment, which we're going to put together some stuff for you that's going to help you learn the right verbiage to say when you're field training a new recruit to get appointments. Then you flat out take them out in the field and you teach them how to go to do a presentation, and that appointment turns into either a sale or a recruit. Hopefully you're aiming for a recruit and you miss and you hit a sale. Well, guess what? That's how you pay your bills, save money, and stay in business long enough to build one. And the bottom line is everybody's got to stay in business long enough to build one. You're either growing or you're dying based on when you're waking up in the morning and your feet hit the floor. Your life and business is either growing or dying. Well, if you don't know tomorrow you've got 3 or 4 new recruits waiting for you to go field train them, you don't have an excited schedule booked next week, so you're not very excited. If you're not very excited about that, your attitude's not right, and you're not going to go out and recruit anybody because your attitude's not right. So, my 4 minutes is about up. All I can tell you is leadership rises to the occasion. Leaders rise. Losers run. Everybody on this phone has the capability to do incredible things. As long as the correct behavior is recognized, the correct behavior will grow. It's not comfortable to be a leader. If you wanted it to be easy, please check yourself out. Go find some other place where you can be all warm and fuzzy. Because when you're a leader and you're responsible for somebody else's life and their life is in your hand, you have a responsibility to go make money, save money, teach them what to do, and duplicate the process. And it only begins and ends with us, guys. So I hope you're all excited to turn the page. Let's go out and, tomorrow morning wake up and go, okay, I'm going to be the best field trainer on the planet. I got my 3 or 4 guys, I'm going out. And obviously, you find a whale, you teach him what to do, and now you don't even need to babysit the guy. Like John Coastal Sharon that everybody's talking about, I don't need to babysit him. He's already doing his own field training sales. Him and Rob went out over the weekend in Los Angeles, recruited his mom and dad, 2 neighbors, had a community meeting. Out of the weekend's activity from one person recruiting his mom and dad, they're going to write at least 10 sales out of that and recruit another 3 or 4 people. But the key is the activity and the recruiting. So that's pretty much it.
Hey, Rick, I appreciate that. Is John sitting with you right now, Rick?
No, he's not. He's got Bob Benefield, the guy that built Aflac. They actually went on their first appointment tonight. They left about an hour ago. Bob Benefield's another guy that you're going to start hearing about. He built the Aflac sales force. The plans that he just went through with Dan and myself and Rob and Maury and Jim in the office, I hate to tell you, we're entering into a new era where people know, okay, if I got to do 25 field training sales, if I can get it done in 24 hours, let's go. So pardon me, but they left tonight to go recruiting.
I love it. I love it. Rob Hodges, are you out there tonight?
I'm here.
Hey, Rob, if you would, I want you to share your background in detail with A.L. Williams Prime America. I want to share what you built, what you made over there, why you're here with us. I want you to talk about the type of team you put together in the last 30 days with you and Rick.
All right. Well, I won't spend a lot of time on my background, but I did build a business over 10 years with Primerica. Had about 1,400 licensed agents in 5 states, 13 offices. Made a considerable amount of money there. But here we are, a new company. But you know what? The crusade is the same. And that crusade is to teach people the fundamentals and teach them how to become financially independent. And built a pretty good core group of people right now, but one of them I think you've deemed the dream team, Kelly, and had a conversation with them today, and I rephrased that, the potential dream team, because all we have right now is potential. We have a tremendous amount of it, but I think we're getting set to rock and roll, really do some great things. But a couple things happened over the weekend, and just wanted to share them just with everybody on the call, because unless you're willing to get in the trenches, unless you're willing to become that guy and not be afraid to muck it up, not be afraid to get out and train your team to do what the right thing to do is, I I think you're in the wrong place. And we've talked about John Colchesharon and his background, et cetera. And you know what? That past is past there too, but the guy has made big money. But I will tell you, his ability to humble himself, his ability to follow a system, his ability to go sit in an apartment complex doing presentations to people that, you know, probably aren't in the right market, but we determined actually the presentations that they actually were. It was pretty phenomenal. Went out on his first solo presentation last night, met with a president of Bank of America, been with the company 10 years, making $50,000 a year, driving a 2001 Honda, living in a 2-bedroom apartment with his wife and 2 kids. And John sat down, did that presentation, got spaghetti sauce on his presentation book. But you know what? He came out of there fired up because he came out of there understanding what it is that we do. And it's not focused on making a commission. It's focused on doing the right thing for people, delivering information to them that they should know and they don't. This guy's the president of a bank, has never seen the Rule of 72. This is where 99% of the people put 100% of their paychecks every month, is in banks. But these institutions don't teach us squat. And until we recognize that our company's different, that we're not out of the mold of traditional financial services, we're not out of the mold of giving my commission and a bunch of referrals so I can go on to the next person. We're in the mold of building financially independent families, one family at a time. That's why I'm here, and I hope you guys can buy into that, because that's what's going to take us to these numbers that Kelly's talking about.
Hey, Rob, let me ask you a question. How many big-time leaders do you and Rick have in your group in the last 30 days? I mean big-time leaders.
25 high caliber, built large businesses at different facets, life insurance, health insurance, etc. 25 seasoned, 20-plus years in the business people.
Fantastic, folks. I want to make one more announcement about the stipends. Whatever commitments I've made to you people, I'm going to honor them this month, but I can assure you this, starting December 1st, whether you get a stipend or not is going to be determined by your contract. In other words, if you meet the qualifications in your contract, you're going to get paid. It's that simple, that if you're not meeting the qualifications, you will not get paid. We have so much leadership in this company now that if we put our money behind the people that put the results, bring the results home, I can tell you right now, we're going to build something that's special. In other words, the goal is to do tenfold what A.L. Williams did. Folks, there's 77 million boomers, 40 million seniors, our government, Wall Street, the banking industry is saying there's going to be a wealth transfer of $30 to $50 trillion. There's never been a time in the history of the world where we have this kind of money in movement. The average age of a licensed professional is 58 years old. Here in the next 7, 10, 12 years, there's going to be a mass exodus of people who retire or sell their book of business. Well, whatever company or companies have the ability to hire, train, put back in this industry newly licensed professionals, folks, and rebuild the industry. That's what we're talking about, is literally rebuilding an industry. Whatever company can do that, folks, history's going to be made, and I'm telling you right now, this company is going to make the history. We're going to rewrite the history books. What I'd like to do at this point is bring Joel Christie on. Joel Christie was the gentleman who introduced Art Williams to Stanley Byer at PennCorp. If it wouldn't have been for that introduction, if it wouldn't have been for Stanley writing that $2 million check, there'd never been the A.L. Williams story. Joel, why don't you come out here?
Sure. And one of the things that I'm hearing this evening
Are you there,
is
Joel?
something that, yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Joel, if you would, why don't you take about 5 minutes? You've been with Dan and I, 3 different cities, 3 major markets. You're meeting the leadership coming in the company. Joel, why don't you talk about history a little bit and talk about what you're seeing?
Okay. Well, certainly the people on the phone, as always, and this is what I'm finding every time I'm getting into a meeting or a phone call situation, you have a lot of good, solid people, experienced people. They have done things before. They're doing it all over again. So they speak from a world of experience, know-how, and also the attitude. And a lot of good attitude is coming across the phones this evening. One of the things that I always believed in from day one when I first walked into the field of sales was that teaching takes place in the classroom. Training takes place in the field. And I'm glad to hear a lot of the thoughts this evening from everybody that's been speaking is the importance of field training. You take a guy by the hand, you say, follow me, let me show you. You're going to see that this is not difficult. You can do perhaps even better than I do. It's a system that works, and it brings forth the results that everybody is looking for. And so when you're in the recruiting field, you look for people that have a certain degree of desire. The ambition level has to be there. They want to do something with their lives. And if they have the qualities that will teach them how to become leaders, well, then you have everything put together. And all you're really doing when you look at the bottom line to everything is that you're duplicating yourself day in and day out, over and over and over again. And once in a while, you become very, very fortunate, and you find a guy that has 500 guys or 1,000 guys or even 100 guys. And it's these type of people that cause you to become a small Art Williams program on its own. In other words, we all own our own companies, so we're all building our own companies within a company. I use the word intrapreneur, probably a new word that I should coin somewhere, but entrepreneur is one thing, but intrapreneur is something that I believe to be much, much better. And anybody and everybody that we recruit in this business has that opportunity. They can become an intrapreneur building their own company within this giant organization. And when I hear some of the people speak, especially Dan and Kelly, and tonight I heard for the first time Jim Files, and I thank you for that privilege. These people are I mean, it's like being plugged in to a huge, giant battery. If we stay plugged in, the guys like Kelly and Dan, people that have been there, they've done these things, and all the others that we're speaking about, and I can't remember all the names, but a new name this evening is Rick, and I had the pleasure of meeting Rick last weekend, I believe it was, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. I'm losing track of time. But it's like being plugged into a huge battery, and as long as you stay plugged in, then you're getting the energy. So conversations like these that we hear this evening in our other phone calls, these are the things that keep us all going, because we see and we know that others are doing these things. Nobody on this telephone has 3 heads or 6 arms and 14 feet to run with. No, we're all, one head, we have 2 arms, 2 legs, we have 1 mind, we have 1 heart, but we put it into the right mode. We make it work according to what we want to do. We have high standards. We look forward to our ambitions being fulfilled, and we know we can see it. It's out there, and we are working towards it each and every day. So all I can add to this is that what Art Williams did way back then, this is a new day. This is a new day without the troubles, and I keep mentioning that because, we started the Williams Company way, way back, and this is before anybody even thought about term insurance being something great. Everything was whole life. We fought the companies, the agents, we fought the officials, we fought the insurance departments. We were always fighting bad publicity. No, that's not the situation today. So whatever was done way back then, that's all gone. It's all history. Now we make our own history, and we have a clear running field. There's nothing in the way. There's nothing to trip over. There's nothing to fight over. Everybody that we can sit down and explain this information to is a buyer. They need it. They want it. They just have to have the explanation to help them along. And that's where the field work comes in. So our jobs are to find the right people, attract the right people, recruit them, but all that is just the beginning. You have to train them. And that's where the field training comes in. And if you do it well, then you add the last portion automatically. Retention of agents will take care of itself if the field training is out there. So that's probably a few minutes that I used there. Hopefully there's value in what I'm saying.
Joe, I appreciate you tremendously. Jim Files, are you there? Jim, you there?
Yeah, yes, I am here, Kelly.
Hey, folks, Jim Files, what I want him to do is share his background with everybody on this call in detail tonight. Everybody's heard a lot about Dan Ahmed. They've heard about some of the agents in the company. They hear about Joel Christie. Let me tell you something about Jim Files. If he wasn't the president of this company, I'd be willing to bet he could run circles around everybody in this company. You don't go out and start a software company from scratch, take it to $100 million in revenue. See, he hired and trained a sales force. Exactly what we're doing right now, Jim already did it. Got a company to $100 million in revenue, took it public, and then sold his interest. Him and Dan started an assets under management company, got it to $200 million, sold it. Folks, I'd put Jim Files, everybody in this country, if you knew Jim like Dan knows him, like I know him, he's a special individual, and to have this kind of leadership, to have two people, Dan Ahmed, Jim Files, I'm telling you, when you get to know Dan and Jim and get to know them intimately, you're going to appreciate what we have. Jim, what I'd like you to do is share your background starting when you got out of college. Share your background so people really can have an appreciation of where you've been, what you've done.
Okay, well, thank you, Kelly, and I am embarrassed when Kelly's so complimentary, and I thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'm 60 years old. I really made my marks in the street, just like everybody here on the phone. I learned selling, belly to belly, across the table from end users, and I left college, and I'll tell you how I made this money on a later time, but I left college in 1976 with $50,000 of money I earned my junior and senior year on an after-tax basis. And that was a lot of money back in those days. After paying for your own college education and still walking away with $50,000. I eventually ended up in Los Angeles because I wanted to start a business. My last quarter in college, like most of us have been through, they've been to college. On campus, they have people that come out to interview you for jobs, and I interviewed for 3 different positions. They're all sales jobs, and I was offered the jobs, and they all paid about $18,000 a year. And I scratched my head and kind of laughed to myself. I said, here, I went to college, made $50,000 my last 2 years in college, grew up with my parents who owned restaurants, and my dad was making 6 figures a year when I was a kid. And I said, $18,000 a year, there's no way I'm going to settle for that. So I packed up my gear, headed to Los Angeles, ended up in Van Nuys, California, got a cheap hotel room and said, okay, what am I going to do next? Ended up, a few weeks later, went to a trade show. I picked up a product. It was a computer product for restaurants. They had just gone from cash registers to computer registers. And I said, that's what I'll do. I'll start a dealership. And every morning, I'd get on the phone, and I'd make 100 phone calls before noon to set my appointments up for the following day. And I'd go out each day, and I'd do that every day, literally 7 days a week, because in the restaurant business, these systems were designed for restaurants, hotels, casinos, country clubs, etc. They work 7 days a week, so I could work 7 days a week. And growing up on a ranch and owning restaurants, that's all you knew how to do was work 7 days a week. So that's exactly what I did, and my goal was to make more than $18,000 my first year. So into my first year, at 23 years old, I made over $300,000 that first year at 23 years old. And again, that was a long time
Jim,
ago.
what year was that?
That was 1978, probably.
I love it. That's amazing. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
That's okay. So then my goal was to make $1 million. So by the time I was 27, I made my first $1 million. And I ended up over the next 20 years starting a number of businesses, a lot of them in the technology business. I've been involved with 3 IPOs, initial public offerings, where I was on the senior management team. The last company, and Kelly referenced this earlier, was a software company that I founded. I had a technology partner that kind of ran the technology side, and we led that to, or I should say I led that to an IPO, initial public offering, and I ran that company as a public company for a number of years before selling out my equity. I then got into mergers and acquisition business. I didn't want to own a business with lots of employees again, because you become a human resource manager regardless of your position. And I said, what can I do which is exciting, it's stimulating, and I can make a lot of money at? So I got into the M&A business, the mergers and acquisition business, where I represented mid-sized companies that either wanted to go public and they just didn't know how to get there, or they wanted to raise private equity to grow their company, or they just wanted to be sold. So I did that for a number of years and loved it. There was a lot of money in that type of business. If you ended up completing one of those transactions, you didn't have a lot of overhead, a lot of employees, which I also liked after going through building a larger company. And then about 12 years ago, I met Dan, and Dan and I started doing business together, and one thing led to another, and we became partners. And as Kelly mentioned, we built 2 significant businesses. We became the largest office out of 500 offices with our broker-dealer in the securities business for assets under management in a very short period of time. And then we became the largest provider of securitized real estate in North America until, of course, the real estate market kind of blew up. But everything that we've done, Dan and I, we've built, has been very successful. We've done quite well. And my philosophy is exactly the philosophy that Joel and Kelly and Dan and Rob and Rick and others on this call have, and people that are listening to this phone call, is that you have to work very, very hard. You have to be passionate. You have to know your business, and you have to go out there and make things happen. And I've used 3 words in my speaking for many years. I learned this back when I was in my early 20s. Somebody said this, and it just kind of resonated and stuck with me. Activity begets activity. And I've always put that at the forefront of my thought process every single morning. Activity begets activity. And really, in simple translation, is that if you and I get up each morning, and if we know our product, we have our script, we know what we're going to do, all we have to do is generate activity. And that's the simple part, but a lot of people have that missing component in their daily work lives. So even when it becomes activity begets activity, we've made it even simpler with our health insurance product, as you will know. We've even taken out most of the work, and you can still make a ton of money in this business by just driving people to your website. So anyway, Kelly, it probably took a few minutes too long, but that's kind of my background.
I love it. I love it. I appreciate that, Jim. Hey, folks, I want to recognize about 5 people tonight on this call. Number 1, Sukram in New York is off the charts what this gentleman's doing. This is the 2nd full month in the business. I believe he's got about $70,000 in targeted life premiums submitted already. Again, without Rocky and Sadi's mentorship, that wouldn't be possible. But that's how he did that. It's called frontline recruiting, internal consumption with every single person you recruit. You take the new person, help them get 5 field training sales. Folks, it's pretty simple. When you recruit someone, do it FNA, have them do their internal consumption. How can you sell what you don't own? That's called no credibility. I want to give Sukram a compliment. It's amazing what he's doing. Next person I want to shout out to is Mike Karchewski in Chicago. Folks, there's a lot of big networkers we have in our company, and they just quite don't understand the financial services business. If you recruit 10, one's going to stick. You recruit 20, 2 are going to stick. Folks, A.L. Williams had 9 legs that turn in to 750,000 agents. There's no shortcut to success here. You go out and recruit 70, you're going to have 7 people that become big with us. Recruit 100, you're going to have 10. Well, there's probably nobody better in our company than Sukram, as well as Mike Karczewski, that understand that concept. And guess where they're going to be? They're going to be at the top of the leadership board. That's a foregone conclusion. That's not rocket science. I want to recognize Magic in Chicago. Vera and Stacy, these people are incredible. Chad Wickline last week he's got about $95,000 in targeted life premium that he's turned in just several weeks. It's unbelievable what they're doing. What I'd like to do now is, folks, is talk about gut check time. Hey, you know what? Spending some time with Rick and Rob last week in Phoenix and L.A., spending some time with John, you know, these people probably talk to more people in one day than the average person talks to in an entire month. Did everybody hear what I just said? Them people probably talk to more people in one day than the average person probably talks to in a month. Well, no wonder they're some of the top income earners in the history of this industry. Folks, when I talk about gut check time, you need to have a list of 200 names. And I don't care if you've already went through 200. You need to have a new list of 200 names. You need to take 200 people through the system. Go out and recruit 40 new people. If you recruit 40, guess what? If you're a novice, you're going to have 12 sales and make yourself 15, 20,000. If you're a seasoned professional, you ought to have 20, 30 sales. You got to be putting 35, 40,000 in your pocket on your own pen. Okay, if you will do that for 90 days, you can make 100,000 on your own pen. Well, guess what happens? At the end of 90 days, then your generational overrides kick in. Your overrides kick in, folks, and guess what? You replace your own pen income with an override income. Folks, if you'll do what I'm going to tell you, you can earn 6 figures in the next 90 days on your own pen, but guess what you can set up? You can set up a $250,000 income the next 90 days in overrides. There's no shortcut to what we're doing. It's called numbers. Dan, why don't you come out and close the call tonight?
Hey, Kelly, great job, everyone. Unbelievable call. Everyone is ready to go. You can hear all the excitement and passion, and that's one of the things we always talk about. You have to not just like what you're doing, you have to love what you're doing. You literally have to love what you're doing, because you're going to spend so much more time in your career in building your legacy in your business at QS2 than you probably ever spent doing anything else. And that's a good thing. When people tell you can work less, it's not going to happen. This is what you're here to do. I feel so lucky to literally have found the one thing that I should be doing in life. I feel lucky that I found the one thing that I should be doing in life. I think that's what we all feel. Jim Files, he wakes up every morning, goes to bed every night, and that's literally what he feels. He feels so lucky to have found this opportunity. So we feel the same way that hopefully you all feel, or that we want you to feel. And it's just tremendous. The leaders we have, the momentum we have, we're bringing on better and better people every single day. Recruiting's picking up, production's picking up. Everything that we could ever ask for is coming in this beginning of the holiday season. So we're all going to get what we wish for. We're all going to get our stockings full, and we're all going to be extremely successful. Great job, Kelly. Great job, Joel. Great job, Rick. Great job, Jim. Everyone that's had an opportunity to talk, just awesome. Everyone have a great night, and thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.